Hello, my name is Simon Lewis, and I'm going to read a couple of poems from my first collection, which is called Jewtown. Jewtown's an area which was called Jewtown by the local people of Cork City. It's actually the Hibernia Buildings area, because a number of Jewish people in the late 19th century moved or fled really from the Russian Empire during the pogroms, and accidentally ended up in Cork City. And the book explores how immigration can turn to success, survival, and all that sort of stuff. I'm going to read two poems from the collection. They're the last two poems when really set today rather than in the late 19th century. Some people will know that the synagogue in Cork City closed down in 2016. And I went to that service the last Sabbath to, I suppose, commemorate what was 120 odd years of Judaism in Cork City. So, the last Sabbath at South Terrace Synagogue. Shipped in from Dublin, the men gathered like beetles around the orange glow of the gas heaters, grumbling as the Sabbath candles were lit. Above them, the women looked down from the crumbling balcony at the ruins, the walls twinkling with dew, the rot chewing the panels, and the blue velvet table covers airbrushed by damp. The men shifted in the pews as their knees stiffened and they mumbled along to the cantor's funereal chants. At the front of the shull was Freddie, his silver crutch rooted to the carpet, bearing the weight of his body, of the synagogue, of 120 years of peddlers, grocers, directors. His face, red with the strain, gave in by the first Kaddish, drooping back into the pew, knowing he was part of the furniture, ready to be moved on. The second poem I'm going to read is the only poem in the collection really about me. My own family would have originally come from those pogroms. My great-grandmother would have settled in Cork City, and I thought I would travel back to that town in Lithuania, which was part of the Russian Empire at the time, which was known as Kovno, now modern-day Kaunas. And I was delighted to see, like most small communities, there's a great thing about Jewish communities, that there's always two synagogues, because there's always a falling out at some point, and both synagogues hate each other. And I was delighted when I went to Kaunas to find out there were, even in this small 300-sized community, there were also two synagogues, and they both hated each other. So I went to the first of the synagogues and went to have a look to see if I could find any evidence of my family background, but only made it as far as the bottom step when a cleaning lady ran me out of the place, shouting something which was certainly not welcome to our synagogue. But this poem is taken at the second synagogue, which is called the Carlow Synagogue, Kaunas. A man in a hat watched my wife take a photograph outside the gate. He was waiting at the door like my dad did after discos, and he smiled as if he knew I was home for the weekend. "You're back," I wanted him to shout as he shook my hand and nodded at my wife, a resigned acceptance. Inside, we spoke of Yiddish, Litvaks, liberal Jews, and he asked me for my name. I know we hoped we'd share a root, a segment, even a vowel. But everyone, Mavsavich, Crystal, Lieb, brought shakes of his head. We compromised on a random surname, the closest we'd get to a family tie, and it was enough for both of us.